Hi everybody, it's Julie for EllenHutson.com and it's time for Hello Monday. This is our weekly creative video series and I had so much fun making these two darling cards in my studio, and I'm working with a pair of dies by Lifestyle Crafts. These are their Circle Punches dies, and what they do is they cut multiples of the exact same size shape all in one pass with your die cutting machine, which is really actually cool. And I'm going to use the 1-inch size die at first to create the little windows that you see on that one card. And I'm going to use my grid mat there to line that up, make sure I've got it all nice and straight across that panel. And then a couple pieces of washi tape will keep it in place so it doesn't shift through the machine. And then I wanted to lop off the edges because I wanted to mat it onto a base card. And I know that if I try to eyeball it, you know what's going to happen. I'm going to chop off one side, then a little more on the other side, and then I'll have nothing but nubs. So I had to use my centering ruler on the Tim Holtz ruler to go ahead and get that perfectly lined up so that it was even on each side. And then I can trim it down. And I wanted to line those with some really pretty pattern paper. This is from the Sundrifter 6x6 pad by Studio Calico. It's just such a pretty paper. And I want to mark off those edges so that I can get it to match the same width as the panel there. And then I'm going to put some foam dots on there. And I made a mistake. I forgot to trim off the long edge of this panel. So I'm using the chisel nib of my quick stick to get underneath those foam stickers and kind of scrape them off. And then I can use my adhesive eraser to get any remaining residue off the paper. And this is a little trick I like to use whenever I accidentally put down some foam dots, and I usually, if I try by my hands, I can't get them off without destroying the whole thing. So this way I didn't have to destroy the whole panel and start over again. So now I'm going to replace those pop dots that I destroyed when I made my mistake. And then we'll back those windows there with that pattern paper strip. So we'll get that mounted. I did it from behind, but you could do it from the front side. And then it looks like I had a little bit of overhang there. So I'll just trim that off with my scissors. And then we can go ahead and 3D mount that to the card front. So I use more foam dots. Of course, I love foam dots. I like to raise things, pop them up. And then I decided it would be really fun to spell something out. And I'm using these really cute stickers. They're transparent by Amy Tangerine for American Crafts, and I had to roll the carrier sheet back to get them to pop up off the sheet and get my tweezer underneath there. So just a little tip there for you. And then I could go ahead and place them on my card. And I actually did a pretty good job lining those up just by eyeballing. I can't believe it. So then I'm going to take my Lawn Fawn heart dies and die cut some hearts until I find one that's, you know, the right size. And I love these hearts because they're not completely symmetrical. They're just a little bit wonky shaped, and that just makes them so charming and cute. I love them. And then I'm going to use my pop dots there to mount that little heart there in one of the windows. That's it. More of that pattern paper from the Sundrifter paper pad. But I just thought that was such a cute and easy card, and it just came along so quickly. Now I'm using the 1.5-inch die to cut a whole bunch of circles from one piece of pattern paper, and this is from the Snippets collection, also by Studio Calico. And I folded them in half, and then I layered them together. There's 4 of these together, and then I'm going to use my tiny attacher to staple them together. I could have sewn them, but you know me, I'm lazy, so I had to staple them. And I love those little teeny tiny staples anyway. So any excuse I have to use that darn thing, I will break it out and use it. And then I'm just going to splatter some Mr. Huey in Noir onto a piece of white cardstock. And I wasn't sure where I was going with this. I was just kind of messing around and just picking colors that I kind of liked. And I knew I wanted some black splatters in there. And then I cut that to size. And I'm going to round the right corner there. And then on my base card, this is Dove Gray cardstock. And I'm going to go ahead and echo that by rounding off the corner of the card as well. And then I'm going to take some more bits of paper from that same Snippets collection and just start playing around with how I want to layer them together. And I love the bright colors and more circles. I think it's fun to kind of echo that, repeat that motif there. So I'll staple that as well because, you know, I love those little teeny tiny staples. I was going to staple that one, and then I decided to 3D mount it. So I put more. I know, I use a lot of 3D dots. But I like it, so it's all good. And then I'll put that on the top there. And then the greeting is from a set called Love This, also by Studio Calico and Hero Arts. And it has some of the cutest little sentiments in it. And I just trim that down. I stamped it with the Ruby ink by Hero Arts. And then I'll just trim that down as I'm creating my little layers and layered effect there on my card. And I wanted to raise that even higher. So I'm putting a double layer along the bottom edge of the foam dots, and then along the top edge, I just have a single layer so that it can adjust to the different heights I've got there on the front of the card. So I'm just going to put this whole embellished panel together first, and then it will go onto the card after I've got all the pieces together. So I wanted to take my little dimensional circles here and create a balloon effect. So I taped some of the bamboo black twine to the back of that, and then I'll mount that to my little panel and then trim that excess off. But I need to have just a little bit, of extra so I can wrap it around to the back side, and then we'll go ahead and tape that down with some more Be Creative tape. So that'll keep it from slipping off or getting loose. And then we'll go ahead and 3D mount that entire thing. I had to make some adjustments there. I don't know why I didn't wait till it was all done, but I just think that is such a fun effect. And I've seen lots of people do it. And I've never done it before. So I'm like, all right, I'm trying it. I'm doing it. And it's fun because you can do that with these dies. It makes it really, really quick work of getting those multiple shapes punched out of paper. Thanks for watching.